You meet someone at a party. 10 seconds later, you already know his face. You'd recognize it in a crowd of 1,000 people. Years from now, in bad lighting, from a strange angle, his name is already gone. You just heard it. You might have even repeated it back to him. And somehow, by the time you reach for a drink, it has slipped out of your head like water through your fingers. This happens to almost everyone, and it isn't a memory problem. It isn't a sign that you're getting older or distracted or bad with people. The real answer is far stranger than that. Your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do. It's just not what you wanted it to do. There's a name for this mismatch, and psychologists discovered it through an oddly simple experiment. In the 1990s, researchers Gary Cohen and Deborah Burke ran a study built around a strange coincidence of the English language. Some surnames double as ordinary nouns. Baker is a surname. It's also a job, someone who bakes bread. They showed one group of participants a face and told them the man's name was Mr. Baker. They showed a second group the exact same face and told them his job was baker. Same face, same word. Only the framing changed. Later, participants were asked to recall what they'd learned. The results were strikingly lopsided. People were far more likely to remember that the man was a baker by profession than to remember that his surname was Baker, even though it was the identical piece of information delivered the identical way. This became known as the Baker-Baker paradox, and it reveals something important about how your brain treats different kinds of facts. Why would the exact same word be remembered so differently depending on what it was attached to? Because your brain doesn't store information in one big, undivided pile. It sorts information based on how meaningful, how connected, how useful that information seems to be. Think about what a job tells you. A baker bakes bread. That fact connects to other facts. It tells you about flour, ovens, early mornings, the smell of a bakery. Your brain has an entire web of related concepts it can hook that word onto. Baker as a job is rich with meaning. Baker as a surname is almost meaningless by comparison. It doesn't connect to flour or ovens or anything at all. It's just a label, arbitrarily assigned, disconnected from any web of related ideas. Your brain has nowhere obvious to file it. Names, in general, work exactly like that second kind of information. Arbitrary, isolated, disconnected from meaning. Faces are the opposite. To understand why, you have to go back much further than a 1990s psychology lab. You have to go back roughly 200,000 years to a version of you that lived in small, tightly knit groups, surrounded by the same 30 or 40 faces for your entire life. In that world, recognizing a face instantly wasn't a party trick. It was survival information. Is this person part of my group or a stranger? Have I seen this face before in a threatening context or a friendly one? Does this person's expression signal danger right now? Every one of those questions had to be answered in a fraction of a second, often before conscious thought even kicked in. Natural selection rewarded brains that could process faces fast, automatically, and with extraordinary precision. This pressure was so intense that your brain eventually built a dedicated piece of neural hardware just for faces. Neuroscientist Nancy Kanwisher and her colleagues identified this region in the 1990s using brain imaging. They called it the Fusiform face area, a patch of tissue in the temporal lobe that lights up specifically and almost exclusively when you look at a face. Not objects, not landscapes, not words, faces. No comparable region exists for names. There is no fusiform name area quietly humming away, dedicated to holding on to the arbitrary sound someone's parents chose for them decades ago. Your brain simply never evolved specialized machinery for that task, because for most of human history, it didn't need to. Small hunter-gatherer bands didn't require formal names the way modern life does. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar's research on human group size suggests our ancestors lived in social circles of roughly 150 people at most, often far fewer in daily contact. In a group that size, faces alone did most of the identifying work. You didn't need a name tag to know who your cousin was. You just recognized him. Modern life asks something completely unnatural of your brain. You're expected to attach a specific, arbitrary sound to a specific face on the first try, often while shaking hands, maintaining eye contact, and thinking about what to say next. That's not one task. That's several demanding tasks stacked on top of each other, running through cognitive machinery that was never built to prioritize arbitrary labels in the first place. Here's the twist that makes this even stranger. The Baker-Baker paradox shows that your brain isn't actually bad at remembering words like baker. It's bad at remembering meaningless connections. Give that exact same word a job, a story, a reason to matter, and suddenly your memory for it improves dramatically. This is why memory competitors, the people who can memorize entire decks of playing cards or 100-digit numbers, rarely rely on raw repetition. They convert meaningless information into meaningful images instead. A stranger named Rose becomes for a few seconds a person standing in a garden holding a rose. A man named Baker becomes for a moment a man covered in flour. The trick isn't a better memory, it's forcing a name to behave like a face, rich with sensory meaning instead of arbitrary sound. Your brain was never broken. It was simply asked to do a job it wasn't designed for, using a tool built for something else entirely. There's a modern mirror to all of this that you've probably felt without naming it. Think about how confident you feel spotting a familiar face on the street, even someone you haven't seen in 15 years, compared to how often you blank on the name of a coworker you talk to every single day. That gap isn't inconsistency, it's your evolutionary wiring showing through, loud and clear, in an environment it was never built for. So the next time you meet someone new, and their name disappears from your head almost as fast as it arrived, you don't need to feel embarrassed. You're not failing at a basic social skill. You're running 200,000 years of finely tuned facial recognition software in a world that keeps asking it to do something else entirely. You meet someone at a party. 10 seconds later, you already know his face. His name never stood a chance,